respect goes both ways. Hey guys, I'm actually fairly disheartened that I find myself back here with a post-event. It is the story of Kat, not her real name, and it is likely to be the worst encounter I have yet to have. A few things I must note before the story begins. For a man, I have a tendency to be fairly feminine, both in mannerism and sometimes appearance. Makeup can do wonders, as well as fairly tall. Keep this in mind, it will be important for the story. Now, for the cast. We have me, Ragu the Barbarian Goliath, Kat, the problem player, an elf bard, the DM, and our other two members who, while having less interaction in the story, I feel are just as important as the rest of our party, who I will call Jack and Dean, an orc paladin and a human cleric, respectively. So it starts off with us all joining a game with the DM on Roll20, from a roleplay place I go to quite often for board games. Jack and Dean knew each other beforehand, while the rest of us were strangers. We might have had some correspondence before, but if so, I do not remember it. We all met in the DM's home, where we started writing down our characters. I have most of my characters written down on my laptop, as I do have a hobby of making characters and then playing them out to flesh them out more. This helps me a lot in how I play them later at other D&D games personality-wise. Not much of our backstories are important to the plot, except one little tidbit. My character is married. So, Session 1 plays out. Then Session 2 and 3. No major red flags yet, aside from a bit of staring from Kat and a fair amount of roleplay between our characters. The problem started and ended with the 4th session. Her and I had gone out shopping for provisions. Well, I was out for a new weapon, as a nat 1 on an earlier berserker rage and reckless blow led to my maul snapping, and her joining me for provisions. I had gotten myself a fine new 2-handed warhammer. Big catch there. Kat then announced, I move over to Ragu and wrap my arms around with his. Now, I will mention that I actually don't mind romance in D&D games. Honestly, I think it can be fun in moderation. But again, Ragu is married. Happily so, in fact. So I said I'd push her off and show her my hand with the gold ring on it. Why'd you push me off? This caught me off guard, as I thought the ring was evidence enough. He's married, I answered. I shit you not. These were the next words that came out of her mouth. Oh, come on. He'd be much better off turning off into a woman and being my girlfriend. I stared at her and then looked to the DM and back at her. I was dumbfounded. That's not going to happen, was my response to it. Why? She chimed, seeming a little aggressive at my unwillingness. He's a man, a very prideful man, a very happy husband and prideful man. There could be potions to make him into a woman, I'm sure of it. At this point, I had clocked out from that weird conversation and just wanted to continue. The DM must have noticed and turned the roleplay over to the group that was at the camp. Later on in the session, we were taking a long rest with Jack taking first night watch. During that time, Kat passed a note to the DM. The DM replied with, "Are you sure?" Those infamous words. She nodded, and the DM asked me to make a perception check. I rolled an 18, and she explained how amidst my sleeping, I suddenly feel some soft weight upon me, and which I immediately tossed off me. It turned out to be, you guessed it, Kat. Not just that, but she was rude. Oh, big boy wants to play tough? Rough? I did not reciprocate. Being who he was, he lifted her up under the armpits, walked out of his tent and over in front of her and just plopped her there, glaring. I felt like this was the most non-violent way my character could show a no in the situation. I sat and joined Night Watch from that moment through the night, just in case she tried to pull that again. Last but not least, the final straw. We were all just trucking through the bushes of a forest with big and grumpy me in the front. Cat once more approached me with a, "Please hold me, I'm scared." I say I push her off. She clings again. I push her off once more. I don't remember how many times she did it, but at least 5 times on that walk. I glared at her out of game, and after the last one, I coldly asked the DM if PvP was okay, and she said yes. So in character, I said, "If you try to touch me one more time, I will not be as nice as I had been." This, in my opinion, was an obvious threat from an angry, tall, lawful evil Goliath barbarian. She, for who knows whichever reason, did it again, so I punched her in-game. She responded thusly, "What the hell is your problem with me?" Which I shouted back, "What is your problem?" She squawked back with a, "You can't hit a woman, that's sexist." I was livid at this point. You say I did something wrong? Your character literally tried to SA mine and has been harassing me this entire session. Have you no respect for a no, nor the fact that he's married? "You're disrespecting my sexuality," came out of her mouth. I believe that anyone can love anyone and be with anyone as long as it is above the age of consent and is not a violent one. So I barked back with, "And you're disrespecting my consent." I turned to the DM and just said that Ragu, clenched and bloody fist, leaves back in the direction we came from. I did not respond to anything Kat said from the moment on and until the session ended. The DM sent me a text during and asked if Ragu was following them. "No," came back from me. I had made up my mind. So after the session, we all went home. I texted the DM back and said I was quitting the game. She was pretty respectful, but mentioned that apparently Kat had a crush on me. So the final message between us went as follows. Then she went about it the completely wrong way then. It might have happened if she came to me outside of the game. Heck, the in-game romance might have as well. But one should not pursue outside romance by doing it in a game. This is a mindset I picked from Den of the Drake, aided by the fact that I myself came into D&D first time with the same maybe a girlfriend over this mentality. I think I did things pretty well, but I don't know if I could have done it better. I'd love to hear your guys' criticism and opinion. Thank you. TLDR, a girl suddenly starts flirting with my married character in a weird attempt to flirt with me.